Texans made a huge splash this morning as they added Stefon Diggs. And I really think that we're talking about a team here that is a serious contender to win the title this year. If you look at what they've done in the offseason, you look at the team they've put together, if Stroud gets a little bit more developed than he already was, and probably what was the greatest NFL quarterback rookie season that we've ever seen, then this team's got a shot. If you look at their division, they're going to be heavily favored in that. But now, the wide receiving core that they have is truly elite. You're now going to have Stefon Diggs, Nico Collins, Tank Dell will be returning from that injury, Noah Brown, who Stroud had a good connection with, and they got Joe Mixon out of the backfield now, a running back that isn't done yet. He's probably got 2 more good years of solid production. So all of a sudden, you have put together a really talented team, and a team that has the chance to compete for years to come at this point. And I think that it's just a huge move for them overall. It's a huge move for CJ Stroud. Obviously, there's going to be increased expectations at this point, but it's going to be about them getting to the expectation. The one maybe big issue that they could run into is they're no longer that overlooked team, that young team. Now, all of a sudden, they have the weight of expectations that are going to be on them, because everybody's going to pick that. They're going to be heavily favored to win that division. When you look at the other team, like you have the Colts, who, although I like their coach, I don't know if they can win the division. You have the Titans, who are kind of a mess. They brought in Calvin Ridley and Pollard, but I don't know how much I trust Will Levis at this point. Then you have the Jags, who they lost Calvin Ridley. Trevor Lawrence has been on and off, to say the least. So you don't really know with them. So they're going to be heavily favored to win the division. The receiving core is going to stack up. And we're also forgetting the Texans hold a first-round pick in this year's draft. They have the Browns pick. They have their second round. They have a full draft. And they drafted exceptionally well last year. You still have Will Anderson Jr., who they got last year, who I'm not going to go out and say that he's ever going to become Myles Garrett or Nick or Joey Bosa, but he's still a really solid player who is going to be the backbone of that defense for years to come. They signed Jeff Okudah, who has potential, but we'll see how much playing he gets. They have Desmond King. They got a lot of depth on defense, and it's a defensive head coach. So you're looking at this roster, and it's starting to, you have Dalton Schultz, the tight end, returning. It's a really, really talented roster. CJ Stroud showed last year that there's no need to go against him at this point. We'll see. Obviously, the weight of expectation that I talked about is now on this team. But you're bringing in Stefon Diggs, who obviously has a controversial kind of diva mentality to him, which is normal. There's been a lot of wide receivers in NFL history that are erratic, and they usually work. Terrell Owens was an erratic guy at wide receiver, but he worked for a lot of teams. OBJ is a guy you can mention, Super Bowl champion. So there's a lot of erratic wide receivers out there. It's just the position. Antonio Brown's another guy that comes to mind, and he was able to work with Tampa Bay and win the Super Bowl. And Stefon Diggs, it's not like his production is going down, and it's not like he hasn't been that kind of guy in the locker room. Even in Minnesota, he was. That's one of the reasons that they moved off him. He still went to Buffalo and had nothing but production. He had production in Minnesota. He had production in Buffalo. He's going to have production for the Houston Texans. And yeah, if you look at your stats, he's had 100 receptions in every year that he was in Buffalo. He didn't dip off last year. It's not like this guy's dipping. So I think that they've gotten a stud at the receiver position. I think that he should be fine. If you're going to get the tweets and all that, I think it's something that good organizations can handle, and it looks like the Houston Texans have pivoted in the right direction. This really goes to show a year ago this team was a mess, and they were in a similar boat as Carolina, but they got the quarterback right and they got the coach right. Look how far that takes an NFL team. Look at what Carolina is today. They got the coach wrong. He's already out of the building. And they probably got the quarterback wrong. And now they're a mess. Every move they make looks bad. So the Texans, they found a way to figure it out. They have one of the top fled rosters that I've seen. There's no reason why they can't compete with the Chiefs, with the Bills, with the Bengals, with the Ravens next year. This is starting to get to the conversation of this is a serious contender. It's starting to look kind of scary. But I just wanted to chip in on that because this Stefon Diggs move is just a big move to a team in Texas that it has outshined the Cowboys in this free agency and leading up to the draft.